Azimio have no justification for the political demonstration. I even don't know whether they're demonstrations or they're riots because you can't differentiate. Sometimes they are like they look like they're peaceful demonstrators. To some extent, they also become riots. Some part of the country, they burn down properties and destroy other people's businesses. So you can't tell whether we are having demonstrations or we're having riots. But to that extent, Raila doesn't have, or Azimio don't have a justification for whatever they are doing. And in today's discussion, we're going to look at as to why we feel like Azimio has actually flopped in this Maandamano. We're going to look at different elements from what is the position of the international community in this whole Maandamano thing. We're going to look at what is the African Union as saying about this Maandamano. We're also going to look at the low turnout, especially in areas that were perceived before to be Raila Amolo Odinga's strongholds. And then we're also going to look at a few things like whether these Mandamanos are mobilized or they're spontaneous. Do people come out willingly, or are they mobilized by ODM leaders? But now, before we get into the real conversation about these issues, if you're new to this channel, take a minute or less to subscribe so that when we do another video like this, YouTube will automatically inform you. Now, number one is that as you maybe could have noticed that before Raila Amolo Odinga makes his way to where they're going to hold those rallies, there's nothing serious in terms of protest that is happening anywhere else in the country, especially in Nairobi. It's when Raila Amolo Odinga makes his way to those venues or those places. At that time is when we start having protests within Nairobi. If this thing was to be spontaneous, people were to wake up and start rioting or start demonstrating. But they must wait for Raila Amolo Odinga so that they come out and, join him in the Mandamano. That's what they're trying to sell to us. That is the perspective they're trying to sell to us. But the truth is, these Mandamanos only happen in ODM strongholds within Nairobi, where they have the MPs. So the MP is tasked and asked to look for jobless youths, bring them together, give them some, few handouts, so that they welcome Raila Amolo Odinga on those specified venues. But before Raila Amolo Odinga leaves his place in Karen, everything else looks normal. In the morning of Nairobi's, in the morning of Mondays and Thursdays in Nairobi, you get that they are very peaceful. There are no people are protesting. There is no provocation. The police don't have work to do. They're just relaxed. The drama begins in the evenings when Raila Amolo Odinga leaves his current home. So this thing tells you that people are not coming out to demonstrate because they feel, the pinch of the economy. People are not coming out because they believe that Raila Amolo Odinga won this election. People are coming out because they've been mobilized for a task. It's like employing people to do a given job. You give them money, you tell them you have to turn out, you welcome our visitor very well, and there's nothing much that the police can do apart from tear gassing you. We will give you this token, and that is what is happening in the country. Before Raila Amolo Odinga leaves his place, the country is enjoying peace. That is the flop number one. If indeed Kenyans were to be feeling the pinch and they were ready, to boil out, they will be boiling out everywhere without, the presence of Raila Amolo Odinga. But the fact that they must wait for Raila Amolo Odinga to turn up, then it means that this is a mobilized crowd. Number two, in places like Kisumu, Migori, in places like Homa Bay and Siaya, even in Kisii, which is in Nyanza, there have been almost a very low turnout. It's almost at zero. The people who are going for protest are less than 1%. And that tells you that the 99% who have kept off the protest don't believe in this cause. We have not seen big or large crowds in Kisumu protesting against or joining the protest with Raila Amolo Odinga. We've not seen crowds in Migori. Homa Bay, it's almost like it's not happening. Siaya, despite these few events that have happened here and there, where they've vandalized properties, especially those that belong to the UDA party, we've not seen any serious demonstrations in those places. The turnout is 1%. The threat is 1%. People don't believe in this cause. They only protest in Nairobi. And as I've said earlier on, that those are mobless crowds. Places where Raila comes from, Kondele, when, back in the days when these things were happening, it was a hot topic. Today it isn't. The people are turning out are very few, and it should be a concern to Raila Amolo Odinga that it's time he should release and let people be. People are tired. People want to do business, especially even those people in Kisumu and people in Luo Nyanza. You saw the other day, actually it's yesterday, when Anyang' Nyong'o released a memo out of pressure that he doesn't want Maandamano to happen in Kisumu. Later on, Raila Amolo Odinga intervened here and there, and then he wrote another memo, canceling the first one and telling the people that the Maandamano will go on in Kisumu. But he insisted that the Maandamano that will be in Kisumu will be a peaceful event. It will be a peaceful protest. And that now speaks, you know, to the pressure Anyang' Nyong'o and those leaders from Kisumu are undergoing because businesses are being destroyed. The economy of those places are being destroyed. Jobs are being lost because investors are running away and they're now feeling the heat. 1%. It's not even 1%. I think it's 0.001% of the population of Kisumu are the only people who are protesting. Now, again, it's a flop because in places that were perceived to be Raila Amolo Odinga strongholds, places like Mombasa, you talk of Western, you talk of Northeastern, you talk about Ukambani, you talk about Western. Those places have shunned these activities. They have not joined Raila Amolo Odinga in solidarity to, this protest or demonstrations or is it riots. They don't believe in this cause clearly because we have not seen such protests in those places. Again, it also brings us to, key Azimio leaders missing in action. We've not seen people like Joho in those rallies. We've not seen leaders from Western. We've not seen people and governors from the coast region joining Raila Molo Odinga. It tells you that very few people, even within Azimio, believe in this cause. The same characters, the people that they call principals, are the only leaders who are joining Raila Molo Odinga in this protest. The fact that majority of the MPs who are elected under the Azimio are avoiding the Maandamano, it speaks to you to what they believe. They believe that Raila Molo Odinga doesn't have an end game. They don't see how Raila Molo Odinga is going to attain power through this protest. The AU, which is the African Union, and the EU, which is the European Union, have given a memo, and in that memo, they give credibility to the presidency of William Ruto. They give acknowledgement to, his office. In that memo, they say that the elections were free and fair. And as such, this is a very critical, part of this conversation because the EU especially is the one that gives sanctions to government, is the one that gives pressure for dialogue to happen so that, maybe Raila Amolo Odinga can have Nusumkate. This time round, they are not standing with Raila Amolo Odinga. They are giving acknowledgement to the presidency of William Ruto. They are giving credibility to the elections. And that means outside Kenya, Raila Amolo Odinga does not receive any support. Now, in conclusion, we have seen that Raila Amolo Odinga has to mobilize for him to have a course in Nairobi. We have seen that in Kisumu, in Migori, in Homa Bay, Siaya, Kisii, the protesters that are coming out, in Luo Nyanza especially, is less than 1%. 99% are minding their own business. And now when you bring up the issue of the international community not backing Raila Amolo Odinga, and then when key elements, key figures in Azimio are missing in action, it speaks to one thing, that this thing is a flop. And also the fact that in other regions, in Mombasa, in let us now call it the coast region, in Rift Valley, in Mount Kenya, in Western, in Northeastern, in Eastern, that is Ukambani, There are no Mandamano. 99% of the country is peaceful. What does that tell you? Is it a flop or is it a win for Raila Amolo Odinga? Let me know at the comment box below. But if you're new to this platform, once again, take a minute or less to subscribe so that when we do another video like this, YouTube will automatically inform you. Thank you.